Hey guys, Mike here. So, what a roller coaster day in the market. And in this video, obviously, we're going to hit the big boys like Nvidia, Palantir, Tesla, some others. Snow is one as well, and show you why Snow actually deserved to actually take the pop it actually had, but also a trend, if you hadn't noticed right now, that's happening. And I'm going to show you the charts I'm talking about and why you're seeing money flow into those today. Because you might notice we were green, the equal weight ETFs were up over 1% eventually. A lot of stocks green, Mag 7, right? Kind of not so much there going on, not much love there. As you can see, Nvidia did finally recover, but basically ended up almost flat for the day, to be honest with you. And so we'll go into all that for you as well. We do have more news coming out tomorrow as we end the week and then head into, obviously, Thanksgiving week next week. And I appreciate all your comments on that rant, by the way. Every once in a while I like to do that. My wife even said, man, you just need to start a channel on ranting because people love your rants, and because I do put a lot of thought in my rants, and I'm very passionate about my rants. So I think I'm right. That's why I ran on them. But I always love reading all the comments you guys put in there, so I do appreciate that. Now, going in, obviously, the big boy first, we'll talk about Nvidia. And you can see first what the options market have to do. It had to squish $500 billion, right? Not really, but you know, some people had spreads and everything else. But if you were straight up in puts and calls, I assume you pretty much got hammered on that, right? And I'm not a candle guy here, so somebody tell me in the comments what kind of candle is this. I see the wicks and go, whoo, boy. You know, almost like indecisive there. But when I show you what they did, it was kind of funny, to be honest with you. Again, we're above the 5-day moving average, above the 21 moving average, above that trend line. We did close above that. We did close below what was previous all-time high, right? But it did set a new all-time high when we opened up. When we go to the smaller time frame, and just look what they did to this thing. Oh my goodness. Spiked it up like crazy right out of the gates and then just dropped it like a hot rock. I mean, look at that right there. 5% move up and you're thinking, woohoo, going to the moon. No sir-ee. Oh my goodness. It's absolutely dropped. It's down almost 8% in a very short amount of time. It recovered for the rest of the day, as you can see, recovering that trend line, horizontal support, the moving averages, all that fun stuff. And I guarantee people started loading up right there. When they saw that bounce off that trend line and support, they were like, oh yeah, it's going to the moon. Nope. I think what has to happen here is the option market almost has to clear the deck here and say, okay, here we go, right? Where are we going to take this thing? Or semis going to start to roll with it? Because other semis were actually nice and green today, believe it or not. But it was just Nvidia seemed to be getting held back. If it does, you know, start to move, whether it's this week, next week, or for the rest of the year, you know, 154, 158, and then 160 is a big one. I know a lot of people are predicting 160. Obviously, if we break below that trend line, so far those supports have held, right? 140, 135. And so that's where you're looking at. And before I forget, guys, please put your questions in the comments for Saturday's video. Thanks so much. Now, looking over here at Tesla real quick, one or two things is going to happen, but I'll say so far that channel, as I put it in, it's held so far, right? That's on the daily. It seems like it wants to bust out, but again, Nvidia and Tesla don't run the same, right? If Nvidia is running hard, normally Tesla doesn't run hard. And this big move up was off what? It was off the options market. It's getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed, okay? And so, you know, one or two things are going to happen here. One of my favorite formations is when you start seeing, you know, this flat top, right? Where you're seeing it's basically being held in at the top, but it's not setting lower lows, okay? So it's setting higher lows, got the flat top. Usually you'll see that end up pressing up to the upside, right? Either that's going to happen, or some people as I look at this, they'll say, well, nope, that is a rising wedge right there. And you can type it in right here in TradingView if you have it. It'll put it on there for you sometimes not. And you click on that and it shows you the target and everything. And if it's a rising wedge and it ends up coming down, 320, which will fill that gap, will be the target. What's going to be interesting, like I said, if Nvidia does start to run, does money rotate out of Tesla into Nvidia, okay? Because they seem to be doing these baton tosses to each other, okay? So watch out for that one right there. And that brings us to Google. If you didn't notice, it got hammered today because, you know, the DOJ, I believe it is, wants some, or whoever it is suing to have them sell Chrome, okay? And so it came down, it hit the 200 moving average. I told members early this morning as soon as it happened, it sucked up 2.5%. So the 200 moving average has held the last 3 times it's hit. If you go back and look at the last like 5 or 6 times, it's dropped below it one time, and that's what you can see it to the left down that trend line. And so that's what happened to Google if you missed it. Now, Palantir here, you can see what's happening with this one. Obviously, we had talked about this, the 4-hour chart. We were trying to see if we were putting in a lower high. We're still waiting to see if that's what's going to happen here. And obviously, clearly, you know, I love my channels and stuff, so you can see the parallel channels. As long as that, like, what is that, 58, 85, whatever that line is right there holds up, you should be good to go. Or are we going to put in the higher high, right? Because you're seeing, the question is, are they going to start rotating out of the ones they made tons of money on, like Palantir, up, you know, crazy amounts of dollars in such a short amount of time, and start putting into these others, which I'm going to show you here, what seems to be the case right now. And again, we'll put this channel on here, same way we did Tesla, and see if that's what we get. And if it does break that level right there, then of course we're coming on down, and we'll see how far down the fields we get if we do finally get a discount on this. But what else are you seeing here? What you want to see if you're a long-term shareholder? Consolidation. All right, it's been sitting here all week long at this level between 58.97 or 57.97, excuse me, up to the 65.92. And what does that allow something to do? It allows, see how it likes to consolidate, move up, consolidate, move up. Now, of course, you don't know if this is accumulation or distribution. It's distribution if all of a sudden you see a big drop down. Accumulation means it goes up to the next level. Now, what does it allow it to do, though? It allows those moving averages to catch up. Okay, I was talking about the rubber band effect in Saturday's video. Somebody asked me about it, but that is a good thing. Okay, the 250 get to catch up to it. Now, somebody asked me this, so I had to at least show this the other day. I was like, man, I don't know what to make about this chart. It's going parabolic, blah, blah, blah. And whatever you do, learn to use fibs. Again, I'm actually going to do a whole thing on this for the members, but you know, it got down that 50, it bounced right down that fib, held that fib, finally broke. And you can see right here, I mean, this thing, boy, bounced off that fib, but it's coming down the shade area, which I actually marked out last night because I was looking at it for a reason after I got done talking about it. And I'm like, wow, big drop down today, around 30%. And again, when stuff goes parabolic, that's what happens. But somebody said they put a short report out or something on this, maybe Citron or somebody did, and that's why it's dropping. Or maybe it's just a front run, a sell-off in BTC if it does hit 100K. And so, but it's good to know the sell button still works on that, and you get to see what happens to parabolic stocks. Now, Lemonade. let me show you what you see happening here. You can see this stock. You see this formation. I've showed you this many times, right? Huge move up. What is this? This is another squeeze, okay? What do I mean by another squeeze? First of all, this stock has been destroyed. We have been in a bull market for over 2 years now, whatever time frame it is. Just look at this thing. It used to be almost a $200 stock, okay? It got beat down, what was it, $9 or something like that. And so again, there was that trend line, just kept resisting, finally exploded. And so, you know, people say, oh, well, you know, and again, you draw a fib on this thing. When you draw a fib, normally you're looking for like the golden pocket, 0.79. No, this right here just sold completely down, right? I mean, there's nothing else to draw down to figure out where it was going to stop at. And when you look at it, they go, oh, it's earnings. Look, man, no, okay? You don't sit there and tell me they hung the moon on earnings like it's an Nvidia or something. They just didn't have the big losses they thought they were going to have. What this is, be real, the whole members, this is a squeeze on a low float, highly shorted stock. I don't know if you can see that. That is a stock with 50 million shares of a float at 30% short interest. Okay, that is a squeeze. What is not a squeeze is what's going on with Snow. Of course, short's covered, but look at their earnings. They had a partnership come up, and again, I don't own Snow. I just talked to you guys about it. I've traded it before. But when you look at this and you come down, you go, what does their future earnings look like? Well, future revenues shot up 55% to 5.7 billion. That deserves to be pushed up. That deserves to do, you know, to absolutely have a big move up like it did today. That is justified. Now it jumped above all the moving averages, and you can see, I mean, what this stock has been destroyed to. It used to be a $440 stock, for crying out loud. And look at this. When you drew the fibs down, you're like, man, where's it going to stop? Down 75% at the bottom. I just put this in a video the other day too about stage 1, maybe breaking out to stage 2, and it's had many attempts at breakouts. Just has not happened. And so when you're trying to draw fibs to draw down this one, don't really do you a lot of good, because it's like, well, it's so far below the IPO price and stuff, but you can see all those failed breakouts, right? Finally breaks out here, it's consolidating, doing its thing, has a really good earnings because of a new partnership, boom, explodes higher, okay? Now, when you look at this, obviously that trend line right there should act as support if you do come down around 155 to 158, depending on if it was going to draw down and hit it. And so what you want to see here is this going to continue up, because as soon as it hits that 0.5 fib, you know, that's where it got halted, right? Or come back down, and so you have a fib lining up with that trend line right there. And a support level, okay? And so again, it's above 50 moving average. So we'll see if it's going to come down, bounce, or continue this push higher, okay? Because that's something we have seen before. Now, looking at what's really this theme you got, what's going on here is you're seeing all these stocks. It doesn't matter whether the companies are garbage or 4 stars. Doesn't matter. Again, we've been in this bull rally. You're seeing stocks that have not participated starting to get bought up. They're in like C3 AI, for example, C3 AI. Somebody mentioned in the comments, I looked at it and I meant to bring it to you guys, but I forgot anyway. But here's this formation. You'll see the same formation you saw in Lemonade where it's coming down, reject, 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 reject. And then I'll have some earnings where it's like, oh, it's not as bad as we thought. Boom, explosion higher, right? But what's it hitting? 0.79 fib, almost multiple times. So this thing is in a big drawdown during what is perceived to be a bull market where the market's been going crazy, right? And you get this big move up right here. And so, off the 0.79 fibs up 80%. You go to another one right here, Datadog, right? Looks great until you start to pull out and you realize, wow, man, the market's been going crazy this year, right? In 2024, and what's this thing done? It just went down. And so draw from a high to a low, right? Look at that, golden pocket bounce, trend line support, all that fun stuff, confluence, right down 29%, while everything else has been going up. All right, but it hits that, starts to move up. Oh, wow, look, we have some earnings. Let's move it up even higher. You pull back and you go, wow, this thing ain't even nowhere near all-time highs, right? But what's hot right now? Cybersecurity, software, right? Fintech, okay? Look at that. No, it used to be a $200 stock. And so this is what you're seeing them push and push and push and push and try to squeeze these kind of stocks, right? And then, of course, you go to Chinese stocks. Again, I've traded them. I don't believe in owning them. I don't know why people do. Look at P. Diddy. Look at that thing. Oh, plummets. Is why. Profit warning. Can't believe it. I mean, and I saw these earnings for these stocks, and people act like they hung the moon. 5% growth year over year is not good. It sucks. And there's so many companies in America you can just own. But look at this. All those STEMI gaps, and STEMI is what I've coined to be for stimulus gaps, pretty much gone. JD is holding up the best of all of them. Roblox, by the way, I think the DOJ is trying to investigate them too. So they dropped, just on a side note right there if you're wondering. But almost all of these have given up the STEMI gains completely. So maybe you start over, maybe they start to come back up. I mean, the HSI has held up okay. We'll see if the billionaires are still starting to load up at these levels. But for the most part, it's got to have stimulus. The earnings are not pushing these stocks up. You got to have free money, okay? Now, looking at the indexes, SPY filled its gap, closed right there, right at the gap. And so, again, it's hard to believe it. There's all-time highs right there. So, and these levels are going to be pretty clear. If you get up there around 600, that's your resistance. Bust through it. You're in price discovery all over again. And it was shocking that after all this, you're only about 1% away from it. That is it. My Lord. And you got like even Goldman Sachs calling for like, what is it, 6,500 on the S&P right now? I don't know what that is in the SPY. But, and again, you're looking at 580, 570, or this trend line below 584 to hold if we start to come down. IWM, big move today, probably the biggest gainer if I'm not mistaken. And when I look at this one, you can clearly see what I'm looking for here. I just want to see the structure, right? Because this right here is what I was wanting. I was very honest about it. I'll show you what happened, though, which I didn't even realize, which is stupid of me. But it's something that happened in the extended hours. Now, you see what I'm looking at and say, okay, is that just a lower high? Or are we going to start going higher now? Okay, it wouldn't make sense if the 10-year pulls down or at least stays where it's at. This could absolutely go higher, especially if you start seeing more squeezes in its stocks, right? Because Lemonade trades on the Russell 2000. But here's what happened. The IWM closed the gap at around 4 to 8 a.m. is what happened. I just didn't see it because I didn't look at extended hours. I'm like, oh, man. So it actually did close it. So that, maybe we don't come back down just because of that, and that's all it wanted, and it moves up, right? And so looking at this, I love my parallel channels. This is a perfect parallel channel so far. I'm going to see come tomorrow and coming in Thanksgiving week, right? We have lower volume a lot of times because it's holidays and stuff. Does this start to trade down, just be into a channel, which kind of like in a way is a bull flag, or do we stay above that trend line and above? Because we did close below the 235 area, which is what I was looking to close above, but we closed below it. And so if we close above 235 and get out of this channel, yes, we're absolutely heading back to 240. And then probably 244.42 right there. Now, we do have news tomorrow. You're looking right here at flash manufacturing PMI, flash services PMI, consumer sentiment, and inflation expectations. So hope you guys got some out of this. Please hit the like, subscribe button. Let me know what you think about that and what you're doing. And think about signing for the membership if you want to, unless the McDonald's combo, and that's everything you get with it right there, especially the morning news brief, which everybody seems to like. And I'll see you guys Saturday.